So, Chapter 4. "Sam!" shouted Will. "Wait a minute! Where are you going?" But the giraffe was already disappearing into the surrounding trees. He couldn't believe how fast Sam could run. Will suddenly felt slightly panicked. He didn't want to be left alone in these strange woods. The tar-stained trees, well, absolute fail there, sorry. The tar-stained trees gave him the creeps. He stuck the orb and the torch into his coat pockets, broke into a run, and dashed after the galloping giraffe. Will left the clearing and followed a narrow track through the woods. It was darker under the canopy of the trees. "Sam, please, slow down," Will called out. "I can't keep up with you." Suddenly, a handful of glowing butterflies swooped down from the branches above and danced around Will's head. The path ahead was lit up clearly. "Thanks, guys," said Will, and pushed on faster. "Sam, where are you?" He rounded a bend in the path and skidded to a stop inches from Sam's tail. "Shh," said Sam, without looking back at Will. Will peered around Sam's flank to see why he had stopped. "What is it?" he said quietly. "My ossicones are picking something up." "Your what?" asked Will. Sam swung his head round to face Will. "My ossicones, these little horn things on my head," explained the giraffe. He looked serious. "There is a definite tingling. It's my spy instincts kicking in." They waited in silence for a few seconds, and then Will heard something. At first he thought it was a breeze rippling through the leaves overhead, but then he was sure he could hear voices. It sounded like 100 people all talking as quietly as possible under their breaths. "Who is that?" asked Will nervously. "The trees," replied Sam. "We're in the Whispering Woods. The trees are talking to each other, passing on news." Will strained to pick out any words from the babble of whispering voices. "Can you tell what they're saying, Sam?" he asked. "No, but my spy senses tell me it's not good. We need to keep going, but slowly and quietly, okay?" Will nodded, and they moved on deeper into the Whispering Woods. Will's mind was a swirl of questions. As he walked alongside Sam, he spoke in hushed tones. "Sam, Sam, where are we going?" "To our camp, to all the other giraffes." "Are you all spies?" "Yes, we are," replied Sam proudly, then hesitated. "Although, technically, I'm not. Not yet." "Oh, how come?" asked Will. "I'm still in training," said Sam, with a sigh. "Necker, that's our leader, says I'm as clumsy as a bull in a china shop." "And what is this weird sphery thing?" asked Will. "This gift from my grandma?" Sam stopped for a few seconds and fixed his gaze on Will. "It's called an orb. It's a very special gift that only a night zookeeper has," the giraffe replied. "You've got to look after it, okay?" Sam looked really serious again. Will nodded. "What's it for?" "To be honest, I'm not exactly sure," said Sam. "All I know is that it's really powerful, and you put it against your forehead." Will looked down at the round object in his palm. He was about to lift it up to his head when he heard Sam say, "Oh, look!" Directly in front of them, a fallen tree trunk was blocking their path. It looked charred, as if it had been in a fire. But then Will noticed the slow-moving streams of sticky, grey tar oozing from the bark. Will looked around. There were many other fallen trees. The forest floor was a tangle of mangled branches and stained, crispy leaves. Nothing disturbed the silence that hung over them. The trees were no longer whispering. It was a scene of dark destruction. Sam was shaking his head. His big eyes glistened in the torchlight. "It's getting worse," he said sadly. "We must get home to the camp." The giraffe tried to step over the fallen tree. Unfortunately, he got his long, slender legs in a tangle. For a moment, Will thought Sam was going to topple back onto him. The giraffe swayed and tottered alarmingly before stumbling onto the far side. "Phew," said Sam. "No harm done." He lifted his neck and whacked his head on the branch overhead. "Oh." "You all right?" asked Will. Sam nodded, but looked embarrassed. "Like a bull in a china shop. See?" he said. "I think I'll go under," said Will. Will dropped to his belly and crawled through a gap under the tree. He moved slowly, taking care not to get any tar on his zookeeper's cap and coat. A short time later, Will and Sam arrived at a low wall made of loose rocks. "We're here," announced Sam. Will peered over the wall and gasped. There was a large clearing, full of giraffes in a throng of spindly legs, glossy hooves, and huge patchwork bodies. What was even stranger was that all the giraffes were standing completely still. Each one had curled its neck round to rest its head on its lower back. "What's wrong with them?" he asked anxiously. "Shh! Everyone's asleep," whispered Sam. "You mean you sleep standing up?" said Will. Sam nodded. "Come on," he said. "Look, there's Necker. She's on lookout." Sam stepped over the wall without getting too tangled up this time. "Necker," he called out in a loud whisper. "It's me, Sam." Will clambered over too and saw a very tall giraffe padding forwards to meet Sam. "I am pleased to see you are safe, Sam," said Necker. "What news do you have?" Sam was beaming from ear to ear. "Guess who I found," he said. "Sam, please, this is no time for games," replied Necker sternly. "Or one of your jokes. Or—" Necker cut herself off as Will stepped out from behind Sam. He held up his hand and gave a short wave. "Hi," he said. Necker's huge, liquid eyes opened wide. "Night Zookeeper," she said. "You found the new Night Zookeeper." Sam raised his chin. He looked as proud as a peacock. "Welcome! You're so welcome!" exclaimed Necker, smiling at Will. "And just in time, too. Now you can help us fight back at last." Will felt a little awkward. Necker seemed so pleased to see him. More and more questions bubbled round his head. One ballooned larger than the others. Who or what was he supposed to fight? He glanced at the back of his hand. It was still smeared with the sticky tar. "Is this all to do with this horrible stuff?" he asked. "You know, all over the woods." Necker frowned. "Void gunk," she sighed. "Is this true, Sam? Have you seen more of it?" Sam nodded. "It's much worse than before, Necker. They must be close," he confirmed. Will felt a trickle of fear snake down his back. "Please, I don't understand," he said. "Who must be close? What's a void?" "They are robots. They look like giant spiders," explained Necker. "They try to kidnap the night zoo animals, and the gunk they leave behind destroys the woods." Will could hear the fear and disgust in her voice. "Most of the animals are in hiding. There are usually clouds of bumbling bees in the forest at this time of year. Now there are none. Along with the green squirrels, the racer robins, everything's gone." Sam suddenly raised his head, and his whole body went rigid. "Oh dear," he said. "My ossicones, Necker. They're going crazy." Necker lifted her head and sensed the air too. "You're right, Sam. There is something," she said in a low voice. "How stupid of me. I wasn't concentrating." "What is it?" Will asked in a whisper. There was a rustling noise, just the other side of the wall. Will's heart leapt in his chest. He peeked over the top of the wall into the darkness. A few night butterflies were resting on the trunk of a nearby tree. Will could make out the peeling white bark. It was one of those weird newspaper trees again. And in the dull light from the butterflies, Will could just about read the words as the papery bark peeled away. "Danger near." Suddenly a loud clank broke the quiet of the whispering wood. It was the sound of moving metal. And that, I'm afraid, is the end of chapter 4. So, we will have to wait until tomorrow to find out what happens to Sam and Will and all of the other giraffes in the Whispering Woods. Thank you so much for tuning in to listen again. I hope you remember that I set you a challenge as we started to create your very own magical animal for the Night Zoo. You can do that on the website if you already use Night Zookeeper, or if you don't, you can email us with your design of your animal on hello@nightzookeeper.com. I can't wait to see the creations that you come up with and share them with everybody tomorrow. So thank you again for joining. Do take care, everybody. If you haven't been able to join, this does appear as a video, which hopefully people can share around so that you can catch up with the story before tomorrow. But thank you again for joining. From my bookcase to yours, keep exploring the magical worlds, keep diving into your imaginations and creating amazing animals for the Night Zoo. Thank you, everybody. Goodbye.